Welcome back, everybody, to podcast number 27 with your boy Angelo. And the new names of the podcast are coming through. Some of them are really good. Some of them are pretty bad from all sides, my own and my loyal, loving fans. All 15 of them. One was a pretty good one I just got. Getting Litto with Angelo. Getting Dinked Up with your boy. And some other ones. But, I don't know. I still kind of hold dear to the burning bridges because it's, a common saying that I think a lot of people have heard. So I think it'd be easier for a wider audience to listen. But who the fuck do I know? Maybe I'm giving myself too much credit. But anyway, that's still a work in progress. I'm currently on vacation. It's Wednesday the 9th. And I decided to finish the joint from last night. And it's, only 11 o'clock. But you know what? Vacation. Pandemic, baby. I'm not leaving the house. I'm in my PJs, drinking some wine as well. And I'm like, what the fuck? Let's finish this joint, have some wine, and let's do a podcast, baby. And the wine I'm drinking, by the way, I finished the Downton Abbey. It was okay. I would give it a solid 6.5 out of 10. It was okay. It wasn't as good as I was describing it. The more I drank it, the more I was like, okay, now I see why it was on the clearance rack. But this one I took a chance on, because I'm not usually a fan of Zinfandels. I just have never really had a good one. I don't get what the hype is all about. When I heard the hype about Pinot Noir, I was like, all right, I'll try it. And now it's a staple in my life. Zinfandels, not so much. Not so much. So, I forget where I got this. It could have been Trader Joe's or Bevmo or where else do I buy wine? Grocery outlet. A little secret there. Anywho, this is Klein with a C. Old Vine Zinfandel 2018 from Lodi, California. Is it Lodi or Lodi? Lodi. We'll never know. And I got to tell you, folks, one of the better Zinfandels I've had. Now, this is my second glass, and so far I would give it maybe a 6.8 out of 10. Let's try a little sippy poo and see if that number gets a little higher here. Yep, 6.9, baby. 69 out of a 10, baby. Anyway, what am I just rambling about here? Oh, yes. I don't know what happened to my Seahawks. That was one of the worst games I've ever seen. I'd rather watch beheading videos. I mean, it was just not even a fun game to watch. It was just ugly. But thankfully, the Pittsburgh Steelers lost to the Washington football team. You almost got me, racists. You almost got me. The Washington football team upset the undefeated Steelers. And so thankfully, that was all of the headlines and not Giants upset Seahawks at home. I think the Giants were double-digit underdogs too. So hopefully we learn from it. Now we're playing the only team that doesn't have a win, and that's the Jets. And if we lose to the Jets, I don't know what the hell's... There's going to be riots in the street. That was brutal. Just brutal. But I'm telling you, my boy Josh Allen keeps doing better and better. And I would have to update the MVP rankings. Josh Allen is now above Russell Wilson. Sorry, baby. I love you, Russ, but you suck lately. I don't know what's wrong with you. Maybe Sierra's hitting you. Maybe Future's hitting you. Maybe you got the COVID. Maybe Golden Tate and you are starting to sext a little bit. I don't know. And I don't care. I want you to be happy, Russ. You need to chill because you're missing open receivers. You're holding the ball too long. You're taking sacks when you shouldn't. And now, I'm not sure, there has been some drops and the offensive line's been a struggle, but Russell Wilson looks almost timid, almost like he's afraid to throw a deep ball. It's almost like since the Buffalo and the Rams game, he got hit like 30 fucking times in those games. I think he's rattled. I think he's got the yips, not the yips. What is it when you starting to see things that's not really happening? Quarterbacks get it sometimes. They get shell shocked. I'm just gonna call it the yips. I think the yips is a baseball phenomenon, but whatever. You're seeing phantoms. I don't know. Maybe I've seen too many sci-fi movies, but anyway. So fantasy football finally was the last. This was the last week before the playoffs, and my carcass was finally buried in the desert on 2 of the 3 leagues. Somehow I made the playoffs in one league. I squeaked out a win, and so I'm in the playoffs in one of the leagues as the 4 seed somehow. It must have been in a shit division like the NFC East. The other 2 just garbage. I had my shit list last week, and I'm going to have to add Jerick McKinnon from the 49ers, and who else? There was another one. Oh, Evan Ingram of the Giants. But I got to tell you, though, surprise, surprise, I picked up Kirk Cousins this week, and he did not disappoint. But it doesn't matter. I still lost. There's just, I was, I'm scrapping whatever's on the trash heap because my quarterbacks are just so awful. Besides one league, I have Josh Allen, and I think that may be the league that I made the playoffs. I'd have to check, but it was a dismal, dismal fantasy football year for me this year. Hopefully next year's a little bit better. Hopefully. But I'm not holding up hope. It's I feel like I've lost my mojo. I started 4 or 5-1 in one. No, wait, I'm lying here. Where did I start? I just looked it up. I started 3-1 in one league, and then I went 2-5 the rest of the week. I think. I don't know. I'm a little messed up here. I don't remember the exact numbers. Anyway, I started off hot, and then it was all bad. I think I lost 4 in a row at one point. I mean, you cannot recoup like that in fantasy football, baby. You can't have a losing streak more than 2 games or your season's done. Anyway, that's my fantasy football advice. Moving on to entertainment. I finished 2 series. I Know This Much Is True and Fargo. I'll start with Fargo first. I give it a C+. It started off good, and then it went to shit. And then there was every now and then you'd get an episode that was pretty cool, but it's the worst Fargo by far. And I thought last season's was pretty bad. Or was it 2 seasons ago? I thought the Ewan McGregor twins season was the worst, but this is now the worst. I still would say Chris Rock surprised me. He was excellent, and I would not be surprised if he gets a Emmy nomination. Moving on to I Know This Much Is True. And again, this has got to be top 10 most depressing TV show, miniseries, movies, whatever, that I've ever seen. And there's only 6 episodes, but it was such a beautiful, fitting end. It wasn't like everything's fine, everything is going to be, roses and chocolates from now on. But it kind of just mellowed out to normalcy. And really, that's all you really want in life. Life isn't a movie, people. You're not going to face all these trials and tribulations until you reach the climax. And then you get a resolution and everyone's happy and walks off into the sunset at the end. That's not life for the mass majority of people. The mass majority of people want that, but the smart people want that, but realize it's probably not going to happen. It's not realistic. It's a good thing to have dreams and hopes and aspirations to get that. But in reality, you want to just get that mellow, chill average. You don't want to get an A+ all the time. You can shoot for it, but don't let it consume you. Be happy with the B- and the C+. Yeah, you're going to get a B+ every now and then, but you're going to get a D+ every now and then. But as long as you keep it from getting too much into the F or the A territory and you just kind of ride the wave in between, I think you're going to be okay. I'm not saying you don't want to, try your hardest or to give up and just accept, the averagity. I think I just made up a word. You can still shoot for the A's, but just acknowledge that it's probably not going to happen as much as you want. It's like everyone who wants to be an actor or an musician or, just an artist or a star, how many actually make it? Same thing with the athletes. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. You should try your fucking hardest. But you should also be aware that I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to accept failure until you reach a certain point. Then you're going to have to accept failure. Anywho, back to the show. What the fuck am I talking about? I Know This Much Is True was such a well-acted and well-done show. The dialogue was spot on. Whoever did the set designs and the costumes and the art design, they deserve all the awards. It really felt like I was in the 80s and 90s in Connecticut, I believe. I mean, everyone looked how they were supposed to look. No one was like drop dead gorgeous. It didn't take me out of it. Like, these are real looking people. A lot of uggos and a lot of shit cars and shit houses. And that's how it is, baby. Anyhow, I'll tell you who was a surprise star of this show, besides Mark Ruffalo, who I swear to God, if he doesn't get nominated for an Emmy for this, I'm going to go house by house and punch every person responsible for him not getting a nomination, punch him right in the dick. And if it's a woman, hey, cunt punches don't feel good either, I've been told. So everyone's getting a cunt dick punch. Anyhow, the other star of the show, well, I don't know if she was the star, but she definitely was in supporting cast, and she really stole a lot of the scenes, was Rosie O'Donnell, Donald Trump's favorite woman. Let me tell you something, there's no one uglier than Rosie O'Donnell, and Rosie O'Donnell would just come right back at him. I would pay good money. Well, I don't mean good money, maybe $60. $60 is where I would cut it, to watch a boxing match between Rosie O'Donnell and Donald Trump. And you'd have to check Donald Trump's boxing glove, because they would have, Russian poison in them, or barbed wire, or like broken glass. Donald Trump ain't fighting fair. And Rosie O'Donnell would not be giving a fuck. I don't think Rosie O'Donnell would have the longevity in the ring that Donald Trump. Donald Trump, I think, could move around a little bit better if he's on that speed that they got him on as president. I feel like if he moves around a lot, he could tire Rosie out. But if Rosie gets in tight and lands a few gut punches, I don't think Donald Trump has a good pain tolerance. I think you hit him in the ribs a few times, he's crumpling. And then when he crumples, give him the good old uppercut, and you're going to hit all the orange makeup, and his hair is just going to fly off. But I tell you, I would pay $60 for that tops. But I don't think it'll last more than 3 rounds. Anyway, I know this much is true. Excellent show. Highly recommend it. If you like realistic sad shit. I tell you what show I'm going to start now. Another HBO show is The Vow. I think it's The Vow. Is that the one is with Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant? Nope. The Vow is something else. What is this? But it's still on HBO. What is The Vow? What the hell am I thinking of? The Vow. I look at the experiences of the members of sex cult. That is on my queue, but what the fuck am I thinking of? Okay, I gotta look here. You know what I'm talking about. The Nicole Kidman, Hugh Grant. I think it's a murder mystery. I think it's done by the people that did Pretty Little Lies, or Little Tiny Lies, or Sexy Little Lies. I don't know what the hell it is. The Undoing, that's what it is. Okay. Let me pull this mofo up here. All right. Yes, this is the one I'm going to start. The Undoing. Okay, who else is in this, by the way? Edgar Ramirez, nice. Lily Rabe, nice. Donald Sutherland, overrated in my opinion. And a bunch of mooks. Okay. Hugh Grant, I've never been a huge fan of his, but I do see him every now and then in a movie. I'm like, he's pretty good. Nicole Kidman is an amazing actress, but is this? Am I making shit up? Or is the person that is doing The Undoing, didn't he do Sexy Little Lies, or Tiny Little Lies, or Big Little Lies? Whatever that fucking show is. Big Little Lies. He did do it. Man, I hate being right all the time. Why do I ever doubt myself? It's such a burden being right all the time, people. You really don't want this. Now I know how Jesus felt. Oh, God. Make myself tear up here. Anyway, I'm going to have another sip of wine here. Okay. So now that we have concluded the Casanova love life, that is Angelo Grosso's romance life, I think we can move on to other territories. Now, I know I talked a lot about my history of violence, thinking it'd be funny, but you know what? I think I've actually done that already. And if you've been a long-time listener, you poor bastards, I don't know why you are. No, I'm kidding. Thanks. I like and subscribe and all that nonsense. I may have talked about this before in my previous podcast, but I've never really been in an actual fight. I've swung at people, and I've been swung at, and I have backed up friends and families, but that's a little different. But I've never had a one-on-one. Both people are throwing punches, both people are landing punches, and it's like a fight. So it could just be where I was raised, the whole nature versus nurture thing. I didn't really have a lot of friends or family that were getting in fights. There was not a lot of fights at that private school I went to. I didn't really see a fight until I was in high school as a freshman, and even that was kind of meh. But my high school was pretty suburban, so there really wasn't a lot of fighting anyway, at least that I was aware of. And then when you get to a little older and you go to bars and stuff, you see the drunken fights every now and then. But no, so it's actually been, I think I've been pretty lucky. I've never really had a fight for my life. I don't know how I would react. It's like that whole Fight Club motto. You really don't know who you are until you get punched. I don't know if I truly agree with that, but there is something behind that. For the last couple not generations, I don't want to be too dramatic here, but at least not a lot of people my age and probably 20 years ago, we haven't really had a war. The last war was Vietnam, and that was what, 40 years ago? 50? 40? Yeah, about 40, 50. I'd have to look. I think it started in what, 68, 67, then went into the early 70s, didn't it? So, yeah, 40, 50 years ago. Anyway, and so, yeah, since then, we've had a few Middle Eastern scuffs. By the way, we've been in the Middle East now longer than all of our wars ever. So, congrats on one attack starting 20 years of nonsense. Anyway, I'm referring to, of course, 9/11. Anyhow, let's move away from the impetus for some of the worst decision making this country has ever made. Let's go back to what I was talking about, violence. Yeah. So, as far as back as I can remember, it's a little hazy because, again, I'm smoking joints and drinking wine. My first, mano somewhat fight, but again, I wouldn't constitute this as a 100% fight. But if I had to grade this fight on a scale of is it a fight or not, I would say we're in the sixes, but I'm thinking low sixes. Anywho, it was this Russian kid in the 6th grade. See, the 6th grade, I feel like I should back up a little bit. Well, I need some water. I feel like I got that cotton mouth. Before I went to 6th grade, I got expelled from my private school in the 5th grade. So the 6th grade year was my first ever year in public school. That was a big shock to the system. That's a whole other podcast right there. Ooh, that's a motherfucking good idea. Anyway, so my first fight was in the first tumultuous event of my life, really, because I don't really count my parents' divorce as one because I was pretty young. You're at that age in the 6th grade when you're starting to figure out your fears, your likes, your dislikes, your loves, all that shit. Like, you're starting to be, I wouldn't say you're a person. You're still a dependent on everybody, but you're starting to figure some things out for later on. For whatever reason, there was this Russian kid who just did not take a liking to me. Now, through hindsight, and I forgot his name. It started with a G. It was like Gustafdin or some bullshit. Anyway, I got picked on a little bit when I first got there because I didn't know anybody, and I was the private school Christian kid who didn't know how to dress, didn't know how to talk, didn't know the slang, didn't know a lot of things. But this kid got picked on way more than I did. Just because he smelled like sausages, he had a weird name, and he just looked different. And at that age, if you're not exactly the same as me, something's wrong with you. So this poor kid got teased mercilessly. Mercilessly? How many S's? It's like saying Worcestershire. Anyway, guys, let's keep plowing along here. So I think through hindsight, he saw me getting picked on, but not as much as he did, and he thought I'm gonna try a alpha move and pick on this kid to see if I can overtake him in the getting picked on Olympics. And I wasn't aware of this. I was just trying to stay alive. Make it day by day. I was making some friends, but this kid had no friends that I was aware of. So one day, he just was kind of a dick to me in class, out of nowhere. It's not like we were talking a lot anyways, but I never really made fun of him. And so then he just kept kind of being a prick to me, but I never really acted on it because I was like, whatever. Inaction's better than, acting a fool. And so later on in the year, a Russian girl came to the school as a new student. And they kind of formed a kind of friendship because, they're both Russian. Now, I'm saying they're Russian because in my mind they're Russian. I don't know if they were actually Russian. They could have just been Eastern European. But for the sake of this story, they were commie Reds. Anyway, now there was one time in class, and again, I could be blowing this out of proportion, but I was checking out this girl. Just checking her out. She was attractive. He saw that, and then I think that's when he decided to keep trying to take me down the ladder. So the one major event, if you could even call this one, was I turned a corner, he turned a corner, we ran into each other. We both kind of dropped what we were carrying. I think it was just books or something. It was nothing. It was no food or drink or anything. Nothing major. Nothing was broken. Just books and shit. Anyway, I apologized and I picked up my stuff, and then he kind of pushed me. But I was I was a bigger, thick kid. I was lower to the ground, and he was a tall, lanky kid. So he pushed me. He didn't really do nothing, but he put his hands on me. And I was always taught, someone puts hands on you, you got to react. So without thinking, I pushed him back because I had already apologized for running into him because I was Canadian at that time. I apologized for everything. If I made eye contact with you and you looked over at me, I'd be like, oh, sorry. I was scared out of my mind every day at this public school. But this kid pushed me for no reason. I pushed him back, and then he dropped everything, so now he had both hands free, and he kind of charged me, and he shoved me, and it made me stumble a little bit. But again, I got a big ass and big thighs. I'm short to the ground. I got good gravity, man. He didn't really move me that much, and so now I could tell shit was gonna get real, and now people are starting to look in the hallway, and I'm like, fuck, I don't want this. And I shoved him again a little harder, and I knocked him on his butt, and then people started to laugh because he's on the ground. And I felt bad. I remember feeling bad then, and I still feel bad now. I didn't apologize, though. I don't remember what I said. I'd like to think I said something cool like, stay on the ground. Hey, cool it. We're friends here, man. Let's just walk it off. Let's just chill. But he got back up, and he charged me again, and he shoved me again. And then I shoved him again, and he fell on the ground again, and I just walked away. I was done. And he was yelling at me in his ugly language. And that was about it. But that was kind of the first time where someone, got a little physical with me. And it kind of freaked me out. I was like, what the fuck? Did I do something? Did I say something? Am I not supposed to beat? I don't know. But, he never picked on me again. Later that year, I made some friends that were a little bit more, let's just say, neutral evil. They were all black, and they wore those Jinko jeans and lugs, and they listened to like Marilyn Manson, and they wore like spiked bracelets and shit. They weren't goth kids, but they weren't like hardcore kids. Yeah, they were all posers. No one really did anything. But that was the first game when the guys would punch each other in the arms over and over again until you dead armed. So that was the first time I was actually hitting people, but that was out of fun. And again, same year. That was my last year, and I was trying out for baseball. And I was getting scorched. I was awful. I was afraid to swing. I was afraid to bunt. I was a decent fielder. And I would get on base a lot because I would never swing, or I would rarely swing because I was horrified. It was just an awful time of my life. And I would always bat in ninth. And it was almost a guaranteed out. But every now and then, because you're in sixth grade, and kids are wild, and I would either get hit or I would walk. And so I was always on base. So I actually had a lot of runs, but I wasn't fast. I wasn't stealing bases. I was fucking awful. I was like Daniel Vogelbach times 10. Nice little Mariners reference for you. Anyway, there was this hot shot kid that transferred to the team about 4 games in. And he must have been a coach's kid or whatnot, because he was already a damn good baseball player. He was hitting home runs on the first practice. We were like, oh shit. And he just took a disliking to me immediately. Which, through hindsight, the best player coming to a team looks at the worst player and how the worst player really doesn't give a fuck, because I didn't. Yeah, I was there to, try to make my dad happy, which he was not. And I just was like, I don't know what the fuck else to do with my life. So I was just kind of taking up space and sucking in air. And so the kid didn't like me, and he started fucking with me during the practices. And then he was at my school. He pushed me one time, and that was the first time I ever called somebody a fucker. Hey, fucker. And the next time I saw him, he tried leaning into me, and I leaned back into him, which kind of surprised him. And then I quit the baseball team because I don't need to deal with that shit. And once that, he didn't fuck with me as much after that. And then he stopped. So, I don't know. I'm sure there was other ones in that year, but because that was a big year for everything in my life. So, it's kind of fitting that would have been my first, altercation. Multiple altercations was my most tumultuous year. But then I went back to the private school for a couple of years before I went to high school. So I kind of got out of my system. I didn't get in any fights at that private school. And even in high school, there was nothing. I don't really count this as a fight. But one of my good friends at the time, he had a little prick streak in him, and he was just fucking with everybody, but he had braces. And he would sneeze on people. He sneezed on me. And I said, hey, man, don't sneeze on me again. He sneezed on me, and I punched him in the mouth. And he had braces, cut his lips, cut his gums, and he's, oh, fuck, man, I didn't think you'd punch me. And I felt bad. I don't count that as a fight, you know. Later, that guy, I almost got into multiple fights later in life with him in college because he was just kind of like that. He would talk a lot of shit when he was drunk. A couple Mariner games and a couple house parties and a couple bars. So now he's married with kids. So I think he got that shit under control. Yeah, I think that was about it until I got to college. And there was a few times where I was at a bar and you're getting drunk and you think someone says something or some guy's peacocking on your chick or some guy's out peacocking you, you're just, young, dumb, and full of cum and you just can't take it, It's like you ever see when you watch nature shows, it's the young bucks, like the young elephants or the young elk. And they're just in a rut. And they're just so much testosterone. They don't know what to do. They're just starting shit with any animal that comes near. Like, it's crazy. If you see a bull elephant, is a bull elephant just a male or is the bull elephant the head male? It doesn't matter. I'll just say a young elephant that's, he's got a fuck. And he's just so full of testosterone. He's just charging and knocking shit over. If some poor animal walks up to the thing, it's getting killed. It doesn't matter what it is. I have seen videos of horned up elephants just grabbing ostriches and flinging them and shit and kicking rhinos and charging giraffes. They're just going ham. Same thing with elk. I don't know, man. Elk sometimes just will charge trees because they think the trees' branches look like antlers. So they're like, oh, fuck, that's another elk. Fuck you. I mean, it's just crazy. And so we think we're better than that. But no, we're still animals, man. We still got those hormones a-raging. And so, yeah. I just remember a lot of my hands were in fists a lot, But again, there was only one night I can vividly remember me getting in almost a bar fight. And it's so stupid now because you can see for what it is. But it was in Issaquah. I don't remember what the bar was. It's the country one in Issaquah. I don't remember the name. So I was at a bar in Issaquah. And I was tuned to the gills, baby. And I went outside for some fresh air. There was this hot little thing next to me. She was smoking, and I thought, I'm drunk enough to have a cigarette. I asked, can I bum a cigarette? She said, sure. Started chit-chatting a bit. And, only about 10 minutes. And I felt, I'm going to get some here. And then this really tall, lanky guy with glasses comes out. Probably 6'2". That's what I remember, my drunken stupor. And he immediately put his hands on me and shoved me. And said, drunk people belong in the bar. So I thought he was the bouncer. And then I looked at him and he wasn't the bouncer. He was just some asshole. And then I said, hey, fuck you, buddy. You look drunk as fuck. And he said, oh, you're out here talking to my girl? And she said, no, we were just talking. And I'm like, oh, okay, buddy. I was talking to her. I didn't know she was with you, man. Thinking, that should quell any concerns there. I'm not going to fight this guy over this chick. I just wanted the cigarette, really. And then he was like, yeah, asshole. And I was like, okay, calm it down. And then he shoved me. Not a hard shove, but he shoved me enough that my shoulder moved. And I said, nope. And I just swung upwards because he was taller than me. And I did a big old whiff and miss. Strike 3, you're out. I didn't even hit him. I don't even know how close I came to hitting him. It could have been 6 inches. Fuck if I know, man. And of course, he flipped out, which I don't blame him. A stranger just swung at him. And so, to his credit, he didn't swing back at me because if I was so fucked up that I swung and missed, even if he had somewhat more soberness in him than I did, he would just do a little jab at me. I would have crumpled like a ton of bricks, So, he went back in the bouncer. We were all kicked out. It makes sense. But that's really about it, I don't even know why I thought I could talk a long time about this because it's, hasn't really been much. Since that little bar interaction, as I would call it, most of my fights have been on the verge of fights, usually for, a friend at a bar, at a party or something. And I've been present when a lot of roommates, a lot of friends do something. I'm like, I don't really know this person. Fuck that guy. But if it's a close friend or a friend or a family member, yeah, and if I think even if I think they're in the wrong, I'm going to try to diffuse the situation. But if the second party doesn't stop, I'm going to have to, take care of business. Time to take out the trash. I don't know how I would be in a real fight. A real fight. in my mind, I feel like I would do okay. Not great, but I'm not going to get my ass kicked in my mind. But, in reality, it all depends on who the other person is. If I'm fighting someone of equal, fight level, it would, it'd be hilarious to watch. But, I think we'd be okay. But if I'm fighting a guy or a gal, because I believe in equality, and they know what they're doing, like they know a little bit of moves, maybe they watch a little too much of MMA or they practice MMA, maybe they do a little bit of judo, I'm done for. I think they're going to move a little too quick for me, and I'm going to maybe flail out with my leg, and they're just going to kick my other leg, and I'm just going to go down. Because if you kick my leg, I'm done. And then they could just knee me in the face, and, I'm drinking through a straw for the next 6 months. So, I don't know. I feel like I'm a good judge of character. Like, I can size people up. Like, if someone looks like they're going to kick my ass, I'm going to do my damnedest to talk my way out of it. I may even call myself a pussy and just leave. But if I size them up and think, is this worth it? Which I don't think most violence is worth it. Like if I walk out of a store and I see someone, keying my car for no reason, they're going to get their ass kicked. I don't know why. That's never happened to me, but that's like such a clear example. Maybe I wish it'll happen. Oh, man. But I don't know. I think I would do okay. I've never done boxing or any kind of hand-to-hand combat training. Sometimes I wish I did. I remember my father wanted me to get in karate as a kid, but I was a fat kid playing Pokemon on my Game Boy. I was like, no, miss me with that. And I never did it. But I got into it. I like watching MMA, and I loved watching wrestling, and I still love watching boxing. And so I like the sport. So maybe in my head, I've seen so much of it, I think I know what to do a little bit. And I do have a punching bag in my garage that I, a couple times a week, I'm out there, bang, 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 dancing and stuff. But I don't know. It would have to depend on the situation. If I feel like it's worth it, if I feel like I'm not going to get my ass kicked, and I don't want to hurt a guy. I don't want to lay that perfect punch and they fall backwards, hit their head on a curb, and I $1 million baby them. I don't want that shit on my conscience. I don't know if I would flee the scene. If I could, maybe I would. I don't know. I'm not going to stay and go to jail for killing a stranger on accident. Ooh, this Zinfandel is good. This may be the best Zinfandel. I don't know what old vine means. Does that just mean the vine is fucked up and they're putting a nice name on it? Like, ooh, these vines are trash. They're barely growing. Let's call them old vine. Makes it sound a little bit better. So, anyway. Oh, yes. The one more thing on fighting. The very first punch I ever thrown was actually at a girl in the 5th grade or 4th grade because she wanted to box me. Now, this was a girlfriend of my best friend, and her and I were friends. And do you guys remember back in the day in the 90s, and they may still have them, these, Nerf, I think they were Nerf. By the way, is there anything that sums up a millennial's childhood better for boys than the Nerf company? Nerf. It just looks like a fun word. Nerf! Anyway, there were these oversized, gigantic, kind of soft boxing gloves. They were ginormous. You would put them on your hand, and then there was like a little bar in there that you would just hold. And then the actual mitt itself was like, 1.5 feet out. It was just giant. And, it came with a little protective headgear, which we never wore. And that's what all of us boys would do. We would just box one another. But, it didn't really hurt when you got hit, and we weren't really trying to hurt each other. We were in the 4th and 5th grade. You don't have that alpha testosterone to prove yourself mentality yet. You're just fucking around. However, girls mature faster than boys. And so the only girl in the group said, I want to fight Angelo. And I'm like, this bitch want to fight me? She thinks I'm the pussy? And that's when I was like, this bitch wants to fight because she doesn't think she can take me. And I said, I don't want to punch a girl. I just don't want to punch a girl. And then all the guys said the same thing. But she named me. So I kind of had to own up to it because she wasn't letting it go. So she got the boxing gloves and she put up her dukes, and I got freaked out. I was like, I don't want to hit a woman. And I kept telling her this. I don't want to hit you, but okay. And so then she started flailing on me. Wasn't punching. Just that, no offense, woman, but most of you don't know how to punch. You flail. You make fists and you hit palm down. That way you're hitting us with your underside of your hand and the underside of your knuckles. It doesn't hurt. It's annoying. However, if you get hit with a girl who knows how to make a fist, ooh, you're fucked up because it kind of surprises you. I don't care who you are. If you're a man and a woman makes a fist at you and she's charging you, I don't care who you are. If you've never been punched by a woman doing that, you think, this ain't going to hurt. I've had butterflies land on my finger before. This won't hurt. And then you get punched in the mouth or the chest or the fucking chin. You're like, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to hug this girl and bring her down because she's going to kick my ass and I can't hit her. So that's exactly what's happening. She was flailing on me. And so I covered my face with my right arm and I ducked down. So now she's hitting me in the back. But I have my left hand free. And so protecting myself, I just punch upwards. I'm not even looking where I'm doing. I'm looking towards the ground, covering my face, left hand hook up. And I heard it land right on her forehead. And I heard her make an audible gasp, like she didn't believe it. And when I looked up, all of my friends were looking at me like, oh, fuck, dude, you hit her in the fucking head. And I looked at her, and I saw pure murderous rage. She was the same age as us, but yet, when I look into those eyes, I still remember to this day, I swear to God, they changed to Michael Jackson Thriller Yellow, and I swear to God, she stomped her foot and just charged me, and she punched me a good 3 or 4 times in the face, and I crumpled to the ground, and then I got on my hands and knees, and I was like crawling away from her, and she's hit me in the ass and the back, and my friends are laughing. I literally had to crawl into the bathroom and close the door because this girl was going ham on my beautiful face, and that's how I make my money. Oh. Well, people, I think that sums up Angelo's history of nonviolence. It's not even violence, man. I don't know what I want to call it. I don't know. History of pussyfooting. But anywho, it's about 40 minutes in, so let's move on to other topics. All right, I think we can almost wrap this baby up, but first I'd like to catch up on my notes here. I have a note app on my phone, and when I think of good ideas for the podcast, I write them down, and I haven't been going through them since I've been doing the romance, whatever, so I have so much stuff here. But what I think I'm going to do is really just cover some of the more sex-related stuff. So, let's see. First one. Oh my God, my first sexual experience. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, I remember this. All right, so I can go into this. Why the fuck not? So, the very first time I ever fooled around with a girl, I feel like I was old. Because I always hear, well, I don't always, but I predominantly hear that people tended to have their first sexual experience. It doesn't have to be sex, but, other things. Usually that's in their mid-teenage years, like around 13, 14, 15. Sometimes younger, sometimes older. Now, me, I think I must have been 17. 17? Maybe. 16 or 17. One of the two. And, I think it was 17 because I was living in Issaquah. So, what I'm counting is like beyond kissing. Because, I kissed girls. I made out with girls. Spin the bottle back in the day. 7 minutes in heaven back in the day. Oh, yeah. I did all of those things. But I'm talking about clothes off, getting your juices flowing. You know what I'm saying? So, that happened with one of my best friends at the time, his sister. Now, it was at a drunken party. I believe it was at their cousin's house. And I knew the sister. I would consider her a friend, but we weren't, best friends. I think she was a year younger than me. But, like most high school parties go, and you drink a little too much, start having a good time, you start picking up on each other. And I was staying the night, she was staying the night, a bunch of people were staying the night because everyone was shit-faced. I remember I was tossing and turning in bed. I think I was in a bunk bed, actually, with someone from, I don't remember who was sleeping beneath me, but I had the top bed. So my drunk ass thought, fuck it, now's the time, let's try it. If I can't make this jump, what kind of man am I? So I remember climbing down from the bunk, shit-faced, thinking I was walking like a ninja, probably was banging into every fucking thing, probably sounded like a rhinoceros down the hallway. I go into her bedroom, and then we just start making out, but it was very awkward for us both, because we were both drunk, we were both young, we were both, all handsy, and so I mean, I must have had Parkinson's that night because my hands were shaking hard. I would have given Michael J. Fox a run for his money because I was so excited and so scared and drunk, and all these religious and spiritual thoughts were going through my head, and it was kind of just it was very awkward. Now, we didn't have sex, but that was the first hand job. I think I got a blow job. I think that was the first time I ever saw a vagina up close. I think that's the first time I did anything with the vagina. So, but again, it was very awkward, very, very fumbling and bumbling away. It was like, you ever see old people trying to walk on ice and they're just, before they fall, they twist every which way like a fucking pretzel. That's kind of how I felt. I literally must have looked like a bobblehead, just shaking. I later found out, because let me back up. So me fooling around with her kind of became somewhat of a big deal because, I was best friends with the brother, but the brother didn't really care. He's whatever, man. She's her own person. Now, I later found out that prior to that, she did have sex with another friend of ours. And he's still one of my best friends to this day. And that was kind of like, whoa. So she had sex with him, fooled around with me. And whoa, what's going on here? That was kind of more of a big deal. But then a couple of years later, she came out. And now she's married and I believe she has 1 or 2 kids. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, so me and my buddy like to joke to this day that we were so bad at our sexual things with this chick that we turned her gay. Obviously, that's not what happened. I hope it's not what happened. But it's still just funny. Yeah, we were so bad and so fumbling and bumbling away that we turned her gay. If that was her only experience with men, then I don't blame her. All right, what's next on the list here? Oh yeah, shower sex. It's trash. Elaine from Seinfeld was absolutely right. That bathtub sex scene from English Patient, completely unrealistic. It's very uncomfortable. Now, for whatever reason, a lot of movies and TV shows put an emphasis on these bath and shower sex scenes. I've tried to have bathtub sex. It's awful because you're basically sitting, and then plus if you do it another way, water's sloshing around every which way, and it's not fun for her because you don't want to drown her. And maybe you do. Fuck if I know. I'm not getting into your private business. But I'm not a fan of bathtub sex unless you maybe have, I don't know, like a bath counter or something where you can sit down on there, or they lay her down. I don't know. There's ways around it, but you have to have like a little shelf or a bench or something in there. But just bathtub sex is trash. Shower sex, I would argue, is just as bad. And the number one reason is, ladies, I don't know. This is a very tired and cliche joke, but ladies, you like the water so scaldingly hot that the moment it touches my skin, I see my skin melt and I see my white bone. And I'm just wondering, this cannot be enjoyable. And I look over, and every woman that's in this like lava shower, they look like they're in pure ecstasy, like, oh yes, burn off my flesh. I'm like, you ladies are psycho. Why can't you just have above average warmth? You don't need it to be scalding fire. It's not like we're trying to temper steel in this bitch. So that's strike one, because the multiple times that I've tried to have sex in the shower, the water's so hot and it gets so steamy, and my eyes, I can't see shit anyway, because obviously I wear contacts, and if you have contacts under the shower, you're already fucking up. And if you can't wear glass in the shower, unless you're taking the short bus to school, and so you can't see shit. I can't, and the steam doesn't help. I don't know where I'm putting things. Is this good? Is this weird? It's awful. Let alone you're both standing up, and I don't care what pornos and other films and TV tell you. Having sex standing up is hard. If both of you are standing, that's what I'm trying to say. Unless it just fits right, unless you both are at such a perfect height for one another and the angles are just perfect, then go right ahead. But if you're just standing there, try it tonight with your significant other. Try standing face to face and just try having sex that way. Just try standing straight up. It's impossible. Well, it's not impossible, but it's very hard to do. It's not what they tell you. It's not how they present it. So yeah, Shower sex is trash. I would say bathtub sex is even worse. I say what's underrated is car sex. I mean, you have to have a nice car and you have to have a decent, a back seat, front seat. The amenities have to be there. But I feel like that doesn't get represented enough in media. I don't know, maybe I'm just rambling here. What else is on the list here before I wrap things up? Oh boy. Some of the stuff is too much. I can't do it in a couple minutes here. Okay, this one's kind of funny. Can you imagine if the 5,000 tigers that are in the state of Texas ever organized? Let's just focus on that sentence. There's over 5,000 tigers. Tigers, the animals. The tigers are 5,000 of the fuckers are in just the state of Texas. Just the state of Texas. So just wrap your head around that while I take a sip of a latte. Dude, these things are dangerous. I think there's more tigers in Texas than anywhere else in the world, in the wild, which is stunningly sad. But just think if they ever got their shit together and organized, you know what, we're tired of this shit. Let's all band together and take out the trash, meaning the people. I bet if the tigers ever unionized and figured out a good strike force, surprise sneak attack alone, they would claim whatever land they're on. And where would they go? They can't stay there because they would be mowed down. It is Texas, but if they have like a 3-pronged attack at the same time, like they planned it out, we wouldn't know what to do. Can you imagine if you're in Texas and you don't know what's going on with the tigers and you leave your house and it's a cold, windy night, but it's still somewhat bright out. You can still see everything, but it's getting dark. You probably got a good 20 minutes before you won't being able to see it much longer, Now imagine you're walking and you hear something behind you walking. And you're like, oh, well, I live in a neighborhood. It's probably one of my neighbors. And you turn around and it's a goddamn Bengal tiger just staring at you. What are you going to do? Just like that, we're back to prehistoric times when we are the prey and they are the hunters. And you can't fight off a tiger. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do if you go out and leave your home to take out the trash? I feel like I'm saying this a lot. Time to take out the trash. I did watch a Bruce Willis movie. Was it Die Hard 2? I don't know. It was one of those Bruce Willis movies, and that was one of the lines. Time to take out the trash. And then he throws someone off a building. They land in a dumpster. Ha ha! Puns. Anywho, if you were leaving to go take out your recycling... and you're walking to your recycle bin, and you see a tiger just wander from behind it and just come walking towards you, not even threatening, but just walking towards you, what the fuck are you going to do? You're going to die. That's what you're going to do. It's a little sad that the tigers haven't figured it out, that if they ever cooperate, they could take down a lot of people and probably, flee. You would have to flee south. You would have to. You can't stay in America. You're going to have to do what the apes did in that new Planet of the Apes movie when they were fleeing San Francisco and they all went into the redwoods. You can't do that. Sorry, tigers, you're not going to be as smart as monkeys and apes. I take that back. You're smart. I would say a tiger could be smarter than a monkey. Never an ape. If apes ever got together and unionized, watch out. Then the human race is fucked. Anyway, these are the ideas I write down when I'm late at night, right before I go to bed, and I'm peak dankness. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this mofo up. So there's Angelo's history of violence and other ramblings of a madman. So hope everyone takes it easy. Treat others as you want to be treated. Wear a goddamn mask. And I love you.